Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, Battletech fans. We hope you are having a great time wherever you are listening from. We want to thank everybody for joining us this evening, for us anyways, for some more content from Rambletech. Today we'll be talking about commitment, but not the scary kind that ends up with a ring on your finger, but the kind that belongs to a Battletech league such as ours, or general gaming in general.
All right. Thank you very much, Geoff. So let's start off with Lee. How long have you been playing Battletech?
Oh, geez. Why do you always throw that at me at first? Actually, no, I think
Ignore
Geoff
that then.
one.
Geoff, to you. How long have you been playing Battletech?
Oh, let's see. I'm 103, so divided by 4, add the 5, I don't know, like 16 years plus?
Okay, and I'm over 20 years. Now, Lee, that you've had a chance to do some math, how long have you been playing?
I call bullshit that Jeff's only been playing for 16 years. I've been playing since 92, so 30 years.
Yeah, Jeff's got his math off because we were playing together in early 2000s. Lee.
Yeah, you started in Battletech League before I did, so you had to have
like
been...
2001.
Okay,
Yeah.
fine, like 20 plus years then.
Okay, there, that's better.
Regardless, basically, we can all sum up, and we did touch base on this last episode, but 20 years, give or take, or more, we've all been playing this game. Would that be considered a commitment to you, Lee?
Oh, yeah. My house is Battletech Shrine, at least my gaming area.
Geoff, do you have Battletech in every room, or is it condensed?
No, I don't have Battletech in every room, but I do have some gaming stuff in almost every room. It's the commitment to spending the money out of my wallet has been great.
Yeah, so it's not just, a hobby. This is actually a lifestyle choice that we've all committed to being a part of.
Oh, absolutely. I've been a gaming geek since I was 14. Right? I didn't get involved in certain games because of the financial initial output, but with Battletech, it was something that I could get into for 50, 60 bucks and run from there. I now can almost for sure I've got 15 grand worth of gaming stuff for Battletech specifically, if you count all the books and all the minis, glue, paint, stuff like that.
Yep, so it's definitely something that we're all familiar with. Now, over the years, how have you been playing Battletech, Lee? Has it always been the same fashion from start to finish, or have you moved through a different couple of ways that you've played?
Oh, pretty early on, I picked styles that I prefer to play, but I learned to play everything. Simply because you never know what you're going to be running into in a campaign. Maybe you're going to run into somebody who wants to play a certain way, like they want you to be recon, or they want you to do whatever. And not only that, the best way to learn to fight against somebody is to use it. Right? If you don't know how to use it, you don't know how to defend against it or how to beat it. And then when it came to my commitment to Battletech League, when it came to that, yeah, you have to be flexible. So I learned how to play a lot of different things, but yeah, I commit to usually fire support.
Let's start off and let's talk about commitment in regards to a league environment and a player sense of the matter. Geoff, if I were to ask you, hey man, I'm coming up and I'm thinking of joining the league, what kind of commitment am I looking at?
Well, I think you should make yourself available to be playing every time League is playing, right? So we play every 2 weeks. It's not, in my opinion, it's not a huge commitment, but you want to be able to play on game day. I think playing on game day is half the fun. You get to hang out with everybody, sit around, shoot the shit, talk about stuff you enjoy, talk about other things, and I get to see your ugly mugs once every 2 weeks. So I think it's fairly important for letting whoever wants to join know that it is a little bit of a time commitment. You got to show up. I think it's like anything else in life to make little sacrifices. Oh no, my Sunday goes away. It's such a bad thing, right?
Yeah, but it's not a surprise, right? When you sign up for League, you get your schedule. You know it's every second Sunday. Brett's done a great job of letting us know when we have to skip a week for whatever reason. It's not a surprise that you're playing every second Sunday for 4.5 hours from this time to this time. even your opponent's not a surprise because we put up a schedule telling you who your opponent's going to be. I agree with you, Geoff, that it's not a massive inconvenience, and it's not a surprise.
No, you should know going into the league that you're going to have to show up for it, right? This isn't, you're not. I don't see the point in joining a league if you're going to have to reschedule your game every 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Same thing with, but if you take a look at other leagues, right? And I'm not even talking about gaming. Look at sports, right? If you join a softball league, you play once a week or once every 2 weeks at a certain time at a certain location, and that location changes, so it's not even convenient. People don't not show up. Your team doesn't decide half of them aren't going to show up, so you forfeit every second or third game. And rarely do you get to reschedule those games.
We've touched base that we've got a schedule to be adhered to. We have a game every 2 weeks. It's housed at the Ogre's Den because we are lucky enough to have a place that can house a great community of people, and they can have us playing our 5, 8, 10, 12 games maybe next season, all on the same day if we need to. That's a lot of space that can support a lot of people in a safe, spread out environment. What about, and you mentioned the time commitment, it is usually from 10:30 in the morning is when game day starts, and at 3:30 it's dice down where game is over, so you should be wrapped up before then, which gives you a 4.5-hour game with a half an hour in there leeway of, you know what, I got to use the washroom, I need to grab a snack, I need to just get up and stretch my legs. Oh my God, that round was horrible. I need a 5-minute breather.
Yeah, and most folks, anyways, you don't need to sit at the table, the entire time, right? If somebody asks a lot of folks, oh, I'm just going to step outside quickly for a smoke, or I just want to go grab a drink quickly or use the washroom quickly, I don't think I've ever seen anybody say, no, we have to finish this round, or no, we have to finish this, or any of that.
Yeah, it's been really good because that's a great opportunity for you to get up while your opponent is out to go and take a look at some of those other tables, the other games that are going on. Walk over and be like, hey, Lee, you're down to 2 max. A little bit of smack talk and camaraderie.
You know what? That's absolutely true. And that was actually something that Stu commented when I interviewed him last season, was the pulling up your chair at another table when your game's over or during the game. It's the community, right? We are a community of gamers focused on a specific game. We're competing, and the ability to get up and hobnob with your fellow players is one of the best parts of League, which is why I could never understand why so many people were wanting to play their games outside of the assigned game day, unless real life came into the situation, and it happens to everybody.
Okay, so that dovetails really nicely into the next point I wanted to bring up. What's your commitment to your opponent while sitting at the table, Geoff?
To be there and paying attention, mainly, right? Like, don't sit there on your phone constantly and then have to constantly ask questions of, oh, what was that move? What did happen? What did you do? Just mentally being there in the game and paying attention to what's going on.
So, yeah, actually, for mine on that is showing up on time, which those of us who have a long drive in, Geoff has a longer drive than I do. I have a 45-minute drive in, but I'm bringing 3 players, so I try to be on time. Showing up on time, making sure your opponents or the admin know when you're not going to show up, not just not bothering to be there, making sure that communication happens. We don't list everybody's phone numbers as a public service in League, but if you contact an admin, we can contact your opponent and ask them if they're comfortable with you having their phone number. So there's safety and privacy things that we try to watch, but you still need to make communication. Your opponent needs to know what's going on. The admin needs to know what's going on, because a child gets sick, you can't make it. You have a vehicle breakdown, you can't make it. Those things happen.
There's an accident on the highway. There's a snowstorm. Life happens.
Your car breaks down.
Breaks
Nobody
down
from
more
Edmonton.
Yeah, your car dies more like it, not even breaking down.
Okay, so it's important to be able to show respect to the timetable and a commitment to being there on time. Do we have any kind of a penalty in place for anybody that does not respect that commitment?
We used to. The original league. Well, there's that. There is the minor one, but in the old league, if you missed 3 game days, you were out of league. Like we've really loosened that up, because that was pretty harsh. But now it's what, 15 minutes? For every 15 minutes late, you lose a mech.
If you're going to be more than 15 minutes, or if you show up more than 15 minutes late, your opponent automatically gets your medium as a kill. And it's their discretion of whether they want to let you play with it or not.
Yeah. It also is up to them. Like, if you give notice ahead of time, sometimes 15 minutes, 20 minutes, your opponent will be like, oh, that's fine, not a big deal. But that's, once again, that's the communication thing.
Yeah, you call in and, okay, there's an accident on the highway. I'm probably going to be 20 minutes late. Boom, okay, not a problem.
I was going to say, yeah, for example, I think twice this season I had to call you, Brett, or I think it was Lee, and just say, hey, I'm running 15 minutes behind. There was traffic or weather the one day, I think it was. So,
and that's usually not the problem.
Yeah, no. Most guys will even be if you call in and you're gonna be, I'm just gonna be 15 minutes late, 10 minutes late type deal. Nobody's gonna bat an eye at it for the most part.
Yep. We've had people show up an hour late, but they did good communication, and other than Brett, blood pressure climbing a little bit, I think it worked out okay.
Oh yeah, totally. And you got to get the blood going every once in a while anyway. A game runs 4.5 hours, 5 hours if you're just playing. What about being committed to staying there the whole time? Have we had any instances, or is this something that we need to talk about in a little bit in more depth?
Well, I think it only happened once last season where somebody couldn't be there for the full game the full game session, and unfortunately didn't communicate that with their opponent. That was a bit of a raised eyebrow, but it wasn't a critical problem. But I think the game probably should have been rescheduled for outside of game hours so they could actually play the full 4.5 hours.
Yeah, so in that regards, if you can't commit to being there for the whole time frame, show your opponent a little bit of respect. Reach out beforehand and be like, hey, I can only play 3 hours. Do you want to come in and get a hard, no breaks, let's just go as quick as we can through the rounds and get a game in that's a little bit shorter? Do you want to reschedule to a separate day? But to make that commitment to your opponent, to show the respect, to get it done beforehand. Okay, yeah, because sometimes people can't reschedule to a different day. We have a 2-week time frame where you can play your assigned match a week before or a week after game day. It is highly recommended to play it on game day because admins are present. There's other people that are present. If there's any kind of rules questions or game questions or anything, you can have that answered on the spot instead of sending a text message or a phone call and be like, hey, so I know you're working, but can you try and answer this question? Most importantly, though, is the fact that we want everybody to have an enjoyable experience, and we want that to run smooth.
I think everybody having an enjoyable experience is number one, right? Like that's the whole reason why we want to play together and play in a league is to have fun. Nobody wants to not have fun.
Yeah, and a good commitment from all participants makes it more fun because it's predictable and it's consistent.
So for that, we've also got a regular schedule. It runs every 2 weeks. Do we have our opponents preset? I don't remember last year, Lee. Did we have that posted week by week, or was it already ready and up and available for everybody to know?
I think I had it up available for everybody, but I also did bi-weekly updates. And if I didn't, I did bi-weekly updates every 2 weeks anyway, like bi-weekly, obviously. And to give everybody so they knew who their opponents were. But I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the season, I posted everybody's opponents in a big list for each week.
I was pretty sure that we had like the 8-week season posted so people could look ahead and be like, oh, I've got JP coming on week 3. Oh, I got Geoff on week 5, and I'm coming up against Laura on week 7 kind of thing.
And if we don't, we will next season, because that's what I intended to do. I just might have missed it in the chaos of what was going on.
No, I think we had it. Okay, I think I remember seeing that, yeah.
I know I had a whole bunch of lofty ideas of a lot of things I was going to do with the Facebook group and things like that I kind of fell short on, but I'm going to do better next year now that we're getting things a little bit more locked in.
Quick summary for players. You're committing to the season. You're committing to playing a game every 2 weeks. You're committing to showing up on time and for the expected amount of time. And most importantly, you're committing to showing some respect for your opponent and showing up to have a good, enjoyable experience for everybody involved. That'll take us into, Geoff, what do you think commitment is towards an admin for the league?
Oh God, it's so much more, right? You got to know all your rules. You got to know you need to be an expert in everything. No. It's a little bit more to organize and get everything set up. You definitely want to. It's more of a commitment than a player, for sure.
So we'll send this one off to Lee's way. As an admin for the last season and previous seasons before, what was your commitment looking like to running, or even just co-running like we did this last season?
Oh dear God, it's a day in, day out commitment. Because if you're not just the day of the game, you have a commitment at the end of the day to start getting the results of the games worked out, make sure that gets out to the players. And I'm not even going to talk about the podcasts. I'll just stick purely with the game stuff. It was a day in, day out. I got probably 4 or 5 text messages a day from players asking about this, asking about that, asking about rules clarifications, wanting to know why they couldn't get a hold of Brett, wanting to know why their opponent, said or did this thing that wasn't in the rules at the time. Why were they allowed to do that? The commitment is ongoing, and that's what I love about this, is that it's not just a commitment to a 6-month span of games. It's a commitment to a year-round community.
Okay, and I can echo that. I had probably 3 to 5 people messaging me 5 to 6 days out of the week in between matches, not even including game day, for people reaching out when they couldn't make it to be like, how's this going? How's this game going? But just people saying, I got a question about this skill, or how do skills work, or I'm not sure what this is. It was a consistent at least 10 to 12 hours a week, not including game days, and that was during season.
So what he's saying, league members, is he wants more text messages. He needs more text messages.
I'm going to start text messaging him my questions instead of looking it up myself. Actually, on that text message part, and I don't want people to stop doing it for me. I love it because it helps us fix any errata problems. Like, that was one of the first things when we released the original packet. There were problems I didn't even realize were in there. I knew there were some that we had missed, but some of the ones that popped up, it was like, holy crow. Thank you. Yeah. And that's commitment on the player's part too. Read the packet. Right?
First season's kind of a cluster for anything that you ever start. It was a wonderful experience to get started, but we needed that feedback to be like, is this a typo, or do they actually have this specific range on that skill? Is this right, or is that wrong? So that's a commitment that we're asking for the players as well. Put the effort in to look through the packet. We build it. We make it available for you. We provide a hard copy to everybody.
Yeah, there's really no excuse not to have at least read your faction, right, that you've chosen, or to at least read the basic rules that the league packet has put in to supersede already written documentation. Because those are the ones that are going to throw you for a loop, right? Like individual initiative, floating criticals, stuff like that isn't listed in the Total Warfare, or because that's not expected to be used in other tournament play.
Yeah, there's things that we do that are just completely different from the way that normal Battletech runs. So you're committing to a league experience, and you're playing in something that is a little bit different, but it is going to be consistent from start to end of the season. We're not going to throw anything too crazy as a loop through the middle unless somebody brings it up and says, this is really broken. At which point in time we'll do an errata and we'll say, okay, before anybody buys this, or now that only 1 or 2 people have bought this, we're going to refund those skills. Because this is changing, because it is broken, this is how we're going. But for the most part, we're committed to doing those alterations in between seasons. And in regards to text messages and players reaching out to us via Facebook message or text message or however you do, we are committed to getting back to you as quickly as we can. But understand, life happens. People have jobs. People have families. If you send a message, expect an answer within the day. We usually do our best to try and get back within a couple hours if we can. Geoff, as a player for last season, how did you find that interaction was going?
I don't know. It could be the fact that I've known you for far too many years that it didn't. it was fine with me. I just call you whenever I want, right? So
True that. There's no apprehension or hesitance there.
Yeah, in this upcoming league packet, we're going to be putting Jeff's number in there too. So if you have an issue, phone Jeff.
I'm fine with this. Go right ahead. I'm okay with this. Yeah, I'll answer questions.
I actually found this season to be really good with the players being reasonable in their requests and comments. Usually anything that they were asking was rules clarification. Very little was whining. Matter of fact, I almost think there was zero whining. And that would be a first out of all the years I've been involved in League. Nobody was seriously whining about anything that they seemed unfair or broken.
Yeah, there was even very little feedback of, hey, you know, this might not be working as you intended. Or could we get some clarification on this instead?
No, and I tried to break some stuff, so, you know. We fixed a couple of those loopholes, you know.
Yeah, well, we have a few people in League that are actually really good for that. They try to not break the system to break the game, but they try to play the system to make sure that we are aware that there might be gaps or holes in our rules coverage.
Yeah, and it's a competitive league, right? You're always going to have people that are going to try and find the leg up in a system to see what's the meta, for example, right? So it's all to be expected.
Okay. Moving along those lines, Geoff, a lance is built with 6,500 BV, 4 units. Are you committing to that at the beginning of the season, and are you staying with all 4? Or when you submit your submission at the beginning, are you already actively planning to swap some of that out during the season?
It really depends. With last year's mech list, I went into it knowing I was going to swap a mech. That was right off the top of the bat. I knew as soon as I could, I was going to be changing some stuff. With the changes to Season 2, there's a lot of mechs and lances and possibilities that I don't think I'm even going to bother looking at some of the stuff like reassignment and chassis upgrade skill-wise, and probably just going to take my lance that I want, because there's so many options, and there's some really good mechs that come without needing to be upgraded.
I know there's at least one painter that is fantastically going to be happy to hear that, because you won one of our painting prizes, so you'll have a professionally painted lance coming into next season, won't you?
Oh, that's right. Yes. Yeah, I guess I did. I got to get with, was Justin, wasn't it? I won from?
Yes, I believe you won from Justin, and it was Chris M won from Geoff Painter.
Such a perfect name.
So yeah,
it really is.
We are lucky enough that we have 2 professional painting hobbyists in the community, Pirate Painting and a Giant Tin Man Painting, who do a lot of hobby painting for a lot of different games, that were willing to donate a lance painting from last season. That's a huge commitment in itself for somebody just supporting the hobby.
Yeah, it's been really great that they offered that up, and you know, they started off by just watching, and now they're fully committed to joining Season 2, which is great.
And good God, that other Geoff is probably my number one frequent flyer for my text messages that are coming in. Asking me questions about this, asking me questions about that. Can I do this? Can I do that? I'm really excited. Are you available for a game? What can we do? When can we get together?
Speaking of getting together for a game, for what started out to be 2 guys wanting to meet up at the Den to play back on the 27th, it suddenly turned into a league event. Like, we had, what, 6, 7 tables with people playing?
Okay, and that is something that I took on as an admin. I'm committed to trying to get the community as engaged as possible, and there's people that are always being like, hey man, I'm looking for more games. When's the next thing happening? Everybody in our group, everybody in our Facebook group has the ability to make arrangements to get games on your own. But if you guys need a little bit of, guys and girls, need a little bit of help, we are here to be like, hey, 27th, all right, there's going to be at least 1 or 2 games going. Who else wants to show up for a game?
What makes me laugh is the 2 people who originally wanted to set that up didn't show.
And their game was actually scheduled to be played off-site anyway.
Yeah, they weren't able to make up their game because I think it was Aaron, when Steven couldn't show up, wanted to take me on, and then a new player wanted to play, so he got bumped. And then another new player showed up wanting to play, so he got bumped. We ended up like 2 or 3 people down before I finally had an opponent.
Yeah, and that's because we want to try and get anybody who's interested in joining. It is a massive time commitment. We want you to be comfortable with it beforehand if we can. We want you to understand as best as you can for this is how an individual initiative works. This is how the game plays. This is what side of the map you deploy on.
Long ways, not short ways.
Always the long way.
Yeah. Actually, one of the things about that I found really interesting was that just building the lance itself is a commitment. Like taking the time and effort to figure out the BV and the combinations of which mechs are going to work well together, which mechs aren't. You were asking Geoff about committing to 4 mechs for the whole season or mixing and matching throughout the season with engineering or reassignment or chassis upgrade. I started off last season thinking I had a really solid 4 mechs with one slightly weak one in the mix that I might have swapped out later. And then realizing second week, my Crusader just wasn't going to carry the weight. It wasn't going to do what I wanted it to do, and out it went. The commitment has to shift a little bit, but yeah, it was really interesting how what I thought I was going to start with was not anywhere close to what I ended with.
And that goes right into what I was hoping somebody would bring up, is you start with 4 mechs, you build it, you submit it, but you're not locked into it because we have built-in skills that will allow you to say, this one's just really not working for me, but I only need something that jumps instead of the same weight class, so I'm going to use reassignment and just slip over. I need something that's a little bit tankier, a little bit bigger, a little bit whatever. I also have the option to go with a chassis upgrade, so if you need to, you can swap out up to half your lance throughout the season.
The only thing I have to comment on that was I took the autocannon 20-30-25 Centurion. I'm thinking, okay, I'll upgrade that if I want to. I didn't do a very good job of looking at my mech list. Even with the boost from reassignment or chassis upgrade, I couldn't do anything with the mech. I was stuck with it because there was nothing better in 200 or 300 BV in either direction. So you really got to pay attention to your mech lists.
Last season, it was 8 games and then 3 games for playoffs and a mid-season event. This year, we're looking at 10 games, playing every 2 weeks. If you just look at the calendar and it works out that there's no holidays are in there, that's going to be a 5-month commitment. Then we usually take a bit of a break over the Christmas season because everybody's got other commitments to family and life that they have to fit in, and gaming has to come second to that during that period of the year. And then we pick it up and we have a 3-match playoffs and then our wrap-up event. So if you look at things, you are making a commitment. Sure, it's only every other week and there are breaks in there, but you're looking at like, what, is that a 7-month commitment?
And I know we were originally trying to knock that down a lot, but to be able to provide a real quality content and a league where the players feel that they've actually played enough to have competed, we can't really go any shorter. 8 is the minimum we can go of regular season because players just don't feel like they've done enough to, not so much their money's worth, but to be considered the top player, right? Almost no league is less than 8 games.
Also, people start to be like, I really like this mech. It's really starting to do something for me. Or, oh, I'm having such a good time playing this gunslinger. I need to get in another couple of games with it.
Until you start losing legs, right, Brett?
3 legs. 3 right legs in 1 season.
But yeah, no, and it's the only way you could shorten it is if we played every weekend. And I think that's a harder commitment for folks to justify than once every 2 weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Really. No, I wouldn't be able to either. Myself, to manage this, I have to use a week of vacation to take off random days and to support it because I work a schedule that is not Monday to Friday. But I'm super happy to do that because I really like this environment. I like our community. I like supporting our players. And I really enjoy just getting together and seeing the 10 to 20 people that also share the same hobbies and same enjoyment that I am.
I can't believe how great it is to walk into the den and see this mass group of people all talking, visiting, talking. Sorry, I said talking already, but just visiting, talking, getting themselves set up for their game, and then just everybody spreads out to their tables, sits down, and we're all playing that game that we've committed so much of our lives to.
Speaking of that, Geoff, what kind of a financial commitment do you have to make to play in the league?
If I remember correctly, it was my firstborn child, which I don't have, so I think it was only $50, wasn't it? Or was it $60?
60.
Okay, yeah. So league fee has been set at a flat $60. And when you look at that, you're getting a minimum of 10 games for the season, 3 games in playoffs if you can still make to that. So you're looking at 13 games for $60.
No, you're missing a bunch of stuff there, Brett. We have our preseason game for draft day. We have our postseason wrap-up party. We've got, if you're a league member, and even if you're not a league member, we're doing stuff in between seasons that we're organizing as league events so that people can come out and enjoy and meet up with us as players and kind of find out the way league runs things. So we try to keep those league events kind of league-centric based off of the BV caps that we use. We prefer people to build their unit lists based off of the current upcoming season's factions. Lists. So we're pretty much, it's a year-round thing for $60. And that's just the games, not counting the prizes and the materials that are being provided.
So when you consider all of that, we're pushing roughly 18 events that you're getting in on or getting invited to or getting to be participatory to, which works out to what? $3 a day?
Yep. Yeah, $3 an event.
It's a cup of coffee an event.
Yeah, yeah. And you're getting your mech sheets are provided to you every game day. The league's providing the maps. Quite often not quite often, every league day there is a draw prize being held. So why do we have an off season?
We have an off season so that I don't go insane and crazy.
It annoys me in off season. That's what it does. It annoys me. You have it to annoy me. I know it.
You and about 4 other very specific individuals, Aaron, Geoff, JP.
Listen, we like Battletech, and we want to play Battletech every week, okay? If we could get away with it.
Well, you can.
No, we can't get away with it.
No, but home games are completely optional.
Yes,
right?
That's outside of having other commitments, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure certain people's wives would have issues.
Well, I didn't say I was showing up.
So we run a league packet every season. We did the first season. Geoff, you've been a part of the editing process for between season 1 and season 2 package. Roughly how many hours do you think we've put into reworking that so that it is more comprehensive, better balanced, more fluid, and adding in the new additions for next season?
If we broke it all down, a couple of days worth of editing, total time wise. It's been nice that it hasn't been a super pressure to get it done. So creating faction lists, that was slightly annoying with weeding everything out.
So Lee, would it be safe to say that we've probably put in about 50, 60 hours editing to get the package from season 1 to season 2 to where it's at right now?
That's just the mech lists. The skills, how many meetings did we have trying to revamp the skills and repoint them and rewrite them if they needed to be rewritten? You know what? It's really funny because in the old leagues, in Bruce's league and Stu's league, people would scoff when they would talk about how, I worked 24 hours trying to rewrite this for everybody. And they're like, well, you'd already rewritten it. You already had it written. What else did you have to do? Well, there's a ton of things that people don't realize get done in the background that players never even see.
So that's a big part of why we have a break in between the seasons. As Geoff touched on, if we want to put in 60 to 100 hours to get the package from A to B where we want it, we don't want to be trying to do that in 2-week period and then turn around and be like, okay, we're starting season 2 in 2 weeks. Less stressful to be able to say, okay, let's have a meeting this Thursday, every Thursday for the next 4 weeks and spend a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah. And you'd also end up with player burnout. Right? Even as much as I love this game, I could not do this every 2 weeks for 3 years. And then summertime comes. I know one player, JP, he camps almost every weekend during the summer. Right? If he had to show up every 2 weeks, he'd have to quit.
Yeah, so we're respecting our player base to say, you know what? wives, girlfriends, significant others, they and family members, they deserve some of your free time too. So if we run over the winter, that gives you all of the summertime that you can actually go out and spend and do stuff with your family. And if you're trapped indoors during the winter, it's not that big of a deal to play a game. But if you're trapped indoors during the summer, you might be considering, I could go out for a barbecue, or I could go camping, or I could go to the lake, or I could go and sit and hang out. Well, I know my wife's going to be a lot happier if we go out and go do a barbecue.
So what you're saying then is we're going to have league days on the patio with a barbecue. I'm on board. Let's do it. Let's go.
I'm having a hard
actually
time
be down
seeing a
with that.
downside for that. I'm having a real hard time seeing a downside. Other than wind. Games with paper don't work well outside.
That
We'll
they
just
don't.
get
But funny
clipboards.
enough, most of the miniatures we use are made out of pewter.
Hey, built-in paperweights.
Okay, so it's been kind of a rambly episode. We've gone back and forth, and
That's
I'm
the
pretty
name of
sure
the
that
show, Brett.
I think we probably said the word commitment over 100, 120 times. Essentially, what we've been trying to get at is it's not just simply I sign up, I pay my $60, I show up when I want to, I don't show up when I want to. It is a lot of effort put in for both the players and the admin, and we do it because we love you guys and we want everybody to have a good experience. Geoff, do you have anything else to tee off on that, or anything else that we haven't covered?
I just want to say, like you said, we've said commitment a lot, and we don't want it to seem like we're trying to frighten people into commitment-wise. It's a lot to take, but we're not as scary as it sounds a lot of the times.
Lee, any last rambling thoughts? Any other points that you want to key on?
Not really. We were hit, like you said, 120 times saying commitment. Like that's a hell of a workout for our tongues. For me, with League, it's a labor of love, and it's hard to understand why some people don't get into it as much as us avid players. That's why we take the breaks in between seasons. It's why we only do it every 2 weeks. So asking for them to commit and, at least communicate, I don't think is that hard of a thing to do. And really, that's about as far as I can go with it. It's just a matter of, if you love the game as much as we all do, then it's not that big of a commitment. It's not that difficult to do. Just try to enjoy it.
Yeah, that's the last part I wanted to touch base on is make sure you're coming out just to have an enjoyable experience. Make sure that you're realizing that your opponent is coming out to have an enjoyable experience and that it is a lucky dice game. Sometimes things can go really swingy your way. Sometimes they can go really swingy the other way. If you have a bad round or you have a bad couple of rounds, your first hour just goes downhill, take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, go grab a coffee or go grab a snack or something. Ask your opponent, you know what, this game's going sideways. I'm not having a good time. I understand that you're committed to being here, and I want to make sure that you have as good of a time as I do. Can I take 20 minutes to go grab a burger? Because maybe you drove 45 minutes to get here. Maybe you drove longer than that. If you're expecting to come in and play a 4-hour game, you only, after an hour and a half, 2 hours, your opponent wants to call it. Everybody's just here to have a good time. Bottom line, try and make sure everybody else has a good time too.
All right, everybody, that should be the end of our episode. Please remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're still with us. We love hearing from you. In the comments, please add any and all things you'd like us to talk about, anything you want us to ramble on about. Obviously, we're pretty good at it, at least the rambling part, and we'd love to see you guys in the next show.